The final installment of COA International's Hike and Plant is going to be taking place on the 16th of September in Tobago. Joining us this morning in studio is Reverend Tilak Singh, President of COA International, TT. Good morning. Welcome.
Morning to your viewers and listeners.
It's a pleasure to have you with us on the show this morning to talk about this. Now, COA has been on the show before, and this was prior to some of the initiatives of Hike and Plant. So it's wonderful to have you back here this morning to talk about how it went. Tell us.
So the Hike and Plant initiative is actually a combination of several contractors, and we are just one member, the entire team, right? And this initiative was really coming out identifying a serious problem we had with environment. We do have climate change. We've seen what is happening globally.
Yeah.
And we have to do our part in preparing our space in Trinidad and Tobago and the Caribbean. So we've identified problems of getting the public involved and making a meaningful contribution and not just something superficial. Being able to plant trees and have the follow through and of over years and see what the success rates of these trees are,
Right.
and the actual biodiversity of the environment, so that it takes care of itself after that, right? And I mean, this was started a couple of years ago by the Hike and Plant Committee. We only came in last year.
Okay.
But the entire objective is how we can create a program that is sustainable beyond any one of us, and also how we could get corporate Trinidad and Tobago involved, how we could work out a nice system so that it is very safe for the public to go up into the mountains and do those things. So, I mean, you'd have mentioned in discussions before, we had several for this year so far. The first one was in Chancellor, where the turnout was phenomenal. We had almost 500 people. We planted 2,000 trees. The contractors and them prepared the space wonderfully. They would have gone and taken care of the plants throughout. So that would have been almost 4 months now. And the feedback is so far, the success rate is phenomenal, like over 70%.
That's absolutely wonderful to hear. And it's great to hear as well, as you mentioned, specifically not being superficial. Because many times we hear, you know, everybody's going to get involved and this is how this is going to happen, but there's no follow-up. So to hear that the team is saying now, all right, we're going to go back, we're going to see what's going on, it really shows that sustainability, which is critical to ensure growth and, of course, to give back to the environment. Now, what sort of trees do you plant? Is it that you have specific trees or you can just go and plant anything you want?
So before we start anything, the people who are responsible for that areas, those volunteers, do a little mini study, right?
Okay.
And the trees are selected based on what are the fire risks. So we use some of the hardwoods. What are the animal life? So we have to plant several fruit trees to make sure there's food for the animal kingdom. And they intend to spread those trees once those trees grow enough to bear fruit. So it's basically we start in the project and the animals finish it for us.
That's absolutely beautiful.
And it's really bringing back, and well, not bringing back, but playing our part in being, you know, part of nature itself, because it's a part of nature.
It is. It's a part of the cycle of life. I mean, to hear that there's consideration going into the animals also need to be fed is something that is so critical, because again, it's not something that we see many focus on when these initiatives come out and lots of people participate. Congratulations on such a massive turnout. Now, let's talk about what's happening in Tobago on the 16th. This is the final installment of the Hike and Plant initiative for this year.
Yeah.
Correct?
Yeah, for this year.
How many trees do you intend to plant in Tobago?
We're still working on that. It really depends on the turnout. It's quite a lot of work for the preparation of the space, right? But somewhere between 1,500 and 2,000 trees. If we could get to 2,000, that'd be wonderful.
And how long does that normally take? Like, how long would you say one of these events runs?
So the preparation starts weeks before, right? So we have to identify the place. We have to clear the shrubs, because sometimes we go into heavily forested areas. Yeah, the work of the volunteers or the contractors that they make sure that, you know, snakes and all these kind of things, you know, they know that people are present, so they don't stick around too much, right? And of course we have to dig the holes, because if we're expecting 200 or 300 people, not everybody will come with the little hand tools, and not everyone have them. The idea is to make sure that we have a safe place that children and families could come. They could spend a little time together, outdoors, experience some sun, experience the environment itself, and feel comfortable and safe too.
Yes.
So after that now, the contractors or the volunteers would go back and make sure, we have no garbage, we have no, we didn't leave anything that we're not supposed to, and that if there are some little things with the plants that are not done properly, they will see about it.
Absolutely beautiful. Now, we would have just seen on screen there, viewers, lovely pictures from toddlers to grown adults taking part in the Hike and Plant initiative. You mentioned, an ultimate goal, let's say, of 2,000 trees for this coming event on the 16th. How many trees have been planted so far with this initiative?
So we've managed to stick to 2,000 trees every event so far. So we've completed 6,000. If we get 2,000 trees done, it'll be 8,000 for this year.
Absolutely incredible. Now, what do you pay attention to when it comes to choosing a location? Because
So it has to be a location that requires plants, of course, and requires rehabilitation. But for the public side of the Hike and Plant, we had to make sure that it's suitable, that we could find some way for parking, we could make sure that the public could access it very easily, and that it is safe. So we wouldn't go off the side of a mountain with cliffs and that kind of thing. It has to be safe. So we have done some wonderful places like Lucy Row, where they have a mud volcano and you could go down to the beach and come back. And while it was relatively inaccessible for someone to go by themselves, it was wonderful as a group.
Definitely.
So these are the criteria. This is our first one in Tobago. So we chose a relatively easy area. So it's very easy. There's no big hills or anything like that. There's a waterfall close to the site that you could go to. There's a beach within walking distance. So you could really take it as a fun day for the entire family, and you could spend the day even after we finish the Hike and Plant. But yeah, this particular location in Richmond was selected simply because it was simple and it was the first one. So this entire year we have dedicated to finding out, seeing how big we could expand, what are the little issues we have, what are the safety issues we need to work on before we expand further, making sure we have adequate medical personnel on standby. We take care of everything that, suppose somebody gets a bite or a sting, we make sure that we notify the hospitals. Everything that we could put in place to make it a professional event, even though it is done completely voluntary and completely free, the standard have to be of the highest standard, because this is something that we are putting out as citizens of Trinidad and Tobago.
Definitely, I could not agree with you more. Now, Hike and Plants. Now, when you say plant, that says, well, you can plant perhaps more than just a tree. Do you stick only to trees, or are there other plants that you allow to be planted?
If people bring plants, we'll facilitate. But of course, we should probably know before, just to make sure it's not an invasive species that could cause more problems, And things like this happen, which is why we kind of try to provide the trees, because some type of assessment is done before.
Wonderful. Well, we are almost out of time, but very briefly, could you share with us what has the corporate side of this been like so far? Are you seeing people interested?
Yeah, so first of all, we're going to give a real big shout out to KFC. KFC have taken the lead in sponsoring this event and really making it possible.
Wonderful.
We have Caribbean Airlines and Unipet who really just jump on board, and they have assisted in making sure that we get some traction and getting things done. And we are creating, again, a proper space so that corporate Trinidad could also get involved in helping us expand, because it's quite a large cost.
Definitely, one can only imagine. We are out of time, but thank you so much for joining us this morning on Now. Looking forward to seeing this initiative grow as the years go by.
Thank you.
Trinidad and Tobago, stay tuned. There's a lot more coming up on the Now Morning Show. We're not done yet.